Jacquelyn Mithcard was a Midwestern working mother, a newspaper columnist who wrote her first novel, The Deep End of the Ocean, to ease her sorrow after her husband's death. Oprah Winfrey selected it to kick off her book club, and it has since been read by millions of people. Now there's The Rest of Us, a collection of Mithcard's columns on topics as diverse as motherhood, widowhood, Tupperware, and baseball. Jacquelyn, good morning. Nice to see you. Welcome back to Today.
Thank you.
Let me start right with the cover of this book, which you call misleading. Why?
Well, because it looks as though it's a nice, happy cover that you could go in and have coffee with that lady, but one of the reviewers said that's a subversive cover because lots of things in that book would make you laugh and make you cry and trouble you.
But let's not mislead people. It's not a downer, this book. There are stories that just touch different emotions.
But it's more serious than you would be led to believe by the cover.
You went back over 12 years of columns to to decide what to put in the book. How did you narrow them down? How did you weed them out?
I wanted it to be a snapshot of this sort of last decade of the century and the things that we were concerned about then, and also things that would sort of stand up to the 5-year rule that 5 years from now would still be important.
So it was pertinent then, will be pertinent 5 years from now.
Right. Issues about the family and gun control and teenage pregnancy and, you know, and also funny issues, just things about learning to date again as a single mother, you know, of 100 years old.
But when you talk, not quite, but when you talk about that, about dating, about the sorrow of losing a husband, about being a mom, you call your column intimate, but you say it's not personal. When you're talking about things like that, how can it be anything but personal?
It's the I in that column is really intended to be you. Whoever's reading that column is intended to identify with it. I don't really put sort of confessional details about my family in there. For one thing, they wouldn't permit it. But it is intended to be a mirror rather than a window into my life.
Your husband contracted colon cancer.
Yes.
Became very ill. Didn't find out really about the diagnosis until it was very much too late. You weren't at first going to write about that.
No.
Why did you decide to write about it?
Because that was too much of a window. It was too close and too personal, but my editor convinced me that this was something I needed to share with longtime readers of my column. There's a real bonded relationship between my readers and me. I've never seen the like of it with other columnists. So I did feel that I needed to let them into that eventually. It was just a few days before he died that I wrote about it.
When he died, you had 4 children. You since have adopted another child.
Yes, I have a baby.
What did you want your readers, you talk about the bonded relationship, what did you want them to know about what you were going through?
About what I was going through with the death, or why I decided to become a mother again?
Really just what you were going through from the time your husband died on.
What I wanted them to know was the same thing I wanted my children to know, which was that even if you have this big wound in you that you could drive a truck through, you don't have permission to let go of your dreams and start living small. And I guess that's why I chose to adopt Francie. That's why I went ahead and wrote a novel. It was mostly to prove to myself that there was a way to be happy again.
How did that affect your children, the death of your husband and your desire to have to bring another baby into the house? Well,
Francie was, when there's already 4 kids, it hardly matters if you have a 5th child. She is just oxygen to the whole family. She's wonderful. As far as writing a book, that was harder for them because they had to make sacrifices of my time that they didn't want to make. I mean, my 8-year-old still points out to me that if I worked at the Dairy Queen, I could have a 4-hour shift.
And spend a whole lot more time with them.
And spend a whole lot more time at home. It's hard for them.
Is it also a problem? I mean, you are, and we kind of talked about this before the segment, you're famous, whether you want to admit it or not. You have become famous because of the first book, and now certainly because of this book. The movie option came out on the first book. Michelle Pfeiffer is going to play you.
Not me.
But she's going to play the role in this story.
Well, Beth. Beth's not me.
So how do you continue to write as the Midwestern mom and a normal person when all of a sudden Hollywood's knocking at your door and you're famous?
I only wish that my life conformed to what people must believe about it, that I am having lunch with Oprah and talking on the phone with Michelle Pfeiffer, and it's, in fact, it's the same life as it was before, except that it's a whole lot busier, but I still have to keep my 2-year-old from putting rice cakes in the VCR. I mean, it's just the same life as it was before.
We could do an entire segment debating whether you're famous or not, but
well,
we'll disagree for this time.
Okay.
Congratulations on the new book.
Thank you.
It's called The Rest of Us. Jacquelyn Mithcard, nice to see you.
You too.
7:49, we're back in a moment. This is Today on NBC.